Good afternoon, everybody. Beautiful day outside, except for all the wind. We're going to be wrapping up basketball season tonight. I have Doug Brustman on. We're going to go through what we projected in the preseason, see how close we were, and go through all pod teams, all short team, all freshman team, and all that good stuff. So, Doug, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Nick. It's good to see you again. And now we can go back over our picks preseason. We did okay. I think we did okay.
We did, yeah.
The good thing is, I think, most of the teams got through the season. Most of the teams got their 15 games.
Yeah.
A lot of teams got hurt by late season COVID.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of teams got knocked out of the playoffs because of late season COVID. And there were a couple of players that, got the short end of the stick, I think, from COVID through no fault of their own. But that's what we had to live through. But we got through the season, and I don't think most people will complain about what we got. So
no, and one positive thing that came out, I think a lot of people were a fan with the postseason pod set up with the different brackets, and hopefully that's, I know a lot of coaches were a fan of that, and hopefully that's something they consider.
I think it's good because there's not many upsets in girls high school basketball.
No.
So when you're going, you start those preliminary games with the 27 through 31 seed, and those teams always get, drilled by the higher seed the next round. So at least make it competitive. But I just don't understand. One thing I didn't understand was the pod A was the championship pod. We'll call it the championship pod. It's top 8 teams. Did they consider each champion of pod a short conference champion? Because I saw people posting that, oh, congratulations on your short conference championship, Donovan. And I'm like, well, it's great that they won their pod, but they weren't in the top 8 pod. Yeah. So is that considered a short conference championship? As somebody said, we're going to hang a banner. And I said, that's good and all, but to me, it was, you got to be in the top 8 to have a chance to hang the banner. So
yeah, I'm not sure. Because I know a lot of Wall, they was congratulations on their pod. I think they were their pod championship, which to me makes a little more sense that, their particular pod than, because you're right, because short they can only be one short conference champion.
And none of the other pod winners were beating St. John Vianney because nobody in the championship pod beat St. John Vianney. So, it seemed odd to me. I guess if you call the championship pod the short conference champion and everybody else a pod champion, that's fine. I just don't know if you can call yourself or somebody can call you a short conference champion when you didn't beat St. John Vianney. So
yeah, I agree. But yeah, it was just good to see, them get some competitive games in instead of, like you said, getting blown out by 30 in the second round or, even the first round, so hopefully it's something, they look to keep in the season. And it sounds like everybody was a fan of it.
Yeah, I didn't hear much negativity about it. So
no,
good.
Some negativity with the seating, but
you're always going to get that, I think. Some people, I guess, thought they had a gripe, but I think the seating committee did a good job.
Yeah. I thought they got the right 8 teams, and you could have adjusted a couple, but bottom line is nobody was beating St. John Vianney. So
correct, right.
So, and you were still getting to play the games after that. Even if you got you lost first round, you still had 2 more games.
And some of those games were very competitive, and teams you wouldn't normally play. So that was a good thing also.
Yes, I agree. So, we'll get started with pod 1. The Donovan pod. We both picked them to win their pod, and out of all the pods, they seem like they did a pretty good job of getting through most of their pod games. Donovan won. Toms River North came in second, which I think those were the top 2 teams we picked.
Right.
I think we both picked Jordan as the player of the year.
Correct.
Preseason, and I'll go first. To me, my player of the year for that pod was Olivia Conroy. She did everything right for that team. She scored, steal, rebounds. What impressed me most is some of the passing that she does too, which never gets recognized in the short conference or in basketball altogether, not even just short. So to me, she was my player of the year.
I think the one thing you left out was her defense also.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, unfortunately, that's an overlooked part of the game when most people just look at numbers. But when I watch a game, I like to see a kid work hard on defense and try to shut somebody down. And when you give an effort like that, you should be praised. But I also have Olivia as my player of the year. I have some stats. I know you're shocked. 12.3 points, 9.1 rebounds. 9.1 rebounds as a guard. 2.6 assists and 2.4 steals a game. I mean, you can't ask more of a kid to step up. And, she did a great job. So I really don't think there was much dispute there.
No, and she's one, I always say, it seems like sophomore to junior years where the players make the biggest jump in progress, and she definitely did that from sophomore to junior year. Yeah. So, and, it's good, we got another season to see, how much further she could take it. And, looking at Donovan's roster, they're bringing almost everyone back. So they're going to be a tough team to handle next year. Jordan, the only graduate, they're going to be a fun team to watch next year.
And I'm sure they'll have more kids coming in next year. So just add to the riches.
My all pod team, Gabby Ross, she was strong in consideration for, player of the year of the pod. She put up a ton of points. Jordan Keenan from Donovan, to me, didn't score all the points, but, the glue to that team, and her leadership skills. Lizzie Gillen from Thompson East had a great season. I know, multi-sport athlete. Megan Sias, I saying that last name right? The freshman from TRN, had a great season as a freshman. And, TRN, who at Thompson North, who has a lot of good players, upperclassmen, juniors and sophomores, she was the key to that team this season. And Ann Wander from Thompson South, who's a double machine. That rounds out, that's my all pod team.
My all pod team is mostly similar. Gabby Ross, again, in contention for pod player of the year. Megan Sias averaged 10.3 points and 6 rebounds as a freshman. Lizzie Gillen, of course, had a great year. Kelly Ann Wander, we spoke before the season saying she's going to be pretty much the whole team. And, they're going to double and triple team her, and she still averaged a double-double. Yeah. So good for her. And then I have Colleen Sullivan from East as my 5th player on the all-pod team. She had a great year. 9 points a game, 3.5 rebounds, 2.3 assists. Jordan, of course, we know Jordan's a great player. Unfortunately, she was one of the people that got bit by the sickness bug at the end of the year. And she, Donovan had a stacked team, and she is the leader of that team, undisputed. I think anybody will tell you that. I think probably in her nature, she's very competitive, but she let other people have the spotlight and didn't complain about it, didn't fuss about it. And that's what a true leader does. She's not on my all pod team. She's on my honorable mention, but I don't really think she cares because they had a great season and they won their pod. So, and she'll be off to East Stroudsburg and have a great career there. So,
yeah. My honorable mention, Kai Joseph, one of the transfers at Donovan, had a really good season. Sullivan from Thompson East, my honorable mention. Mooney from Lacey, who had a good season for Lacey. And to me, Lacey was one of those teams. They had a lot of players that contributed to similar stats, that a well-balanced team, it seemed like Lacey. And Julia Grozowski, did I pronounce it right? From North, sophomore.
Yeah. I have the same 4. I have Jordan instead of Colleen. We swapped there. But I also added Kelly Goodall from East.
Okay.
Because, I thought before the beginning of the season, if she improved the way she was improving the last 2 years, she'd have a good season. And she averaged, I think, close to double figures in rebounds. So, I had to give her a shout out, and good kid, good player. And so I think the pod was competitive. Donovan kind of ran away. North didn't really have the season we thought they were going to have. We said beginning of the season that they needed a leader to step up, and I think they probably still lack that a little bit. The go-to player to hit the shot, and Gia Passat
Yeah.
unfortunately, through no
Barely.
fault of her own, and
Yep.
was out a good portion of the season. So
Yeah. That's
I
probably
think
one of the
that definitely
players.
hurt them.
Yeah, that
Um,
she's one of the players I feel bad, the most, she basically didn't have a junior season with, everything
right.
that went on. And, she like, I don't even think she caught COVID. I think it's just
No.
circumstances, who she was around and when they
Right.
had it. So, um, moving up, we'll go to pod 2. We both picked Jackson to win Memorial, and Howell ended up winning the pod. If you go by the pod records, Howell
Right.
actually beat Jackson Memorial after they upset Manchester.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought Howell and Jackson were two. Figured those two teams were going to be towards the top with Central Regional hovering up there. So that pod pretty much came player wise with the player of the year. We both picked Rachel at the beginning of the year, and to me, the end of the year, obviously she was the player of the year. As for my all pod team, I have, Bresco and Leary from Howell. They were a very tough duo to stop this season. Lexi Linton from Jackson Memorial, Alexis Voorhees from Brick Memorial, who's a great shooter, and Jalen Smith from Central Regional. That's my all pod team.
Well, Nick, great minds think alike. We have the exact same 5 as our all pod team. I don't think there was much dispute there. We said it was going to be a 2-horse race between Howell and Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And, like it always happens sometimes, you beat a team, you have a big win against Manchester, and then you go and play a good Howell team, and you just don't have that spark you had the game before. So Howell got the best of them. Howell won the pod. Congratulations. But Jackson made the top 8. So I think that was a nice consolation prize for Rachel and the girls. So.
And Howell was a tough team because they took Red Bank Regional twice,
Mm-hmm.
to the fourth quarter. They were, they're winning going into the fourth, just couldn't hold on. So, I talked to the coach after the RBR games before the pod started, playoffs started, and he said those are the games he wanted his girls to play. So when it came to the pods, they could, realize what they have to do to hold on to those tight games instead of letting them slip through. So, I got to see Howell a couple times. They were a fun team to watch, and obviously Jackson was fun to watch.
Yeah, I got to see them up close and personal, and
yeah, and you got to see in person, what Capua could do. Both those
37
games.
points. Yeah, yeah, she lit us up. But she's a great player. Look, East Stroudsburg, they're getting 2 great players from the shore. And they're a pretty good Division II team. That PSAC conference is very strong, but man, she is bringing in some players there.
And Bianca missing her freshman year because of the COVID. You got a strong point guard right there too. From the shore, they're going to be a fun team to watch to see how the shore girls develop out there.
Agree. And I'll go with my honorable mention. I got Nicole Kuhl from Brick, Alana Bergstrom from Lakewood. She had a good year. Lakewood, you know what Lakewood is, but they compete. They're tough. They're not going to give in, and she had a really good year. Tanaya Decker from Central, and Mackenzie Bruno from Howell. Those are my honorable mentions.
My only difference is I had Zoe from Jackson Memorial, and not the Lakewood girl, but Bruno was one of those Howell players that just did everything: rebound, hit a big 3 when she needed to, and she had to get recognized. And she's one of those multi-sport athletes too, I think. Hey, let me pull up next pod. Manchester pod. We both picked Manchester. We both picked Destiny, and obviously, she hit her 2,000 points, the all-time leading scorer in Manchester. Right?
Yes, boys and girls. 2,010 points, I believe she ended her career with. So, congratulations! It's a big accomplishment.
Yes, and it has to be over 1,000 rebounds too.
Well over.
Do you have that stat in front of you?
I don't have the stat, but I believe it's over 1,100.
Yeah, this year alone had to be over 20 a game.
She averaged 18.7 rebounds a game this year.
The 2 games I was at, she had over 20. I was like, oh my God. And there, and she bangs the body, and they're physical with her, and she just keeps going right through it. So
I saw every one of our games this year. They threw everything at her, and some games it worked. The RBC game, she did not have a great game. She ended up scoring a lot, but it wasn't one of her best games, and I think she'll tell you that. So, she fought through double, triple teams, and still averaged 30 points and close to 19 rebounds a game. So
yeah, I said at the beginning of the season, she was going to have like a Audrey Gomez type season, and those are similar stats. I know it's a different, tough to say.
Yeah, I've been around the short conference pretty much my whole life. Audrey Gomez was by and large far and away the best player I've ever seen.
Yeah, me too.
No doubt about it. And there have been other great players in the short conference. We at Manchester had Leilani Correa 2 years ago, who's now having a great career at St. John's. Destiny's right up there with him. She's just a tough kid. She works hard, and she's on to North Carolina and bigger and better things. So
yeah, she is a great kid. Go through my pod picks. Bridget Dudas from Pinelands Jr., Maura Carney from Liberty, Shaver from Point Borough, Jen Farah from Point Borough, and Quigley from Manchester, freshman from Manchester. That rounds out my all pod team, which it was a tough pod.
Oh yeah, definitely a tough pod. A lot of good individual talent, not much team success.
Yeah.
But a lot of individual talent. My all pod team, I have Amaya Bray from Manchester, who, coaches always say, who do you play your best games against? Who do you step up against? When do you show up? And in the championship pod, Amaya averaged like 17 or 18 points a game in the 3 games. So, she saved her best for last and really showed that next year she's going to be in contention for an all-shore spot. Yep. Very proud of her. I also have Shaver and Farah from Point Borough, Carney from Liberty, and Dudas from Pinelands.
Yeah, I have Amaya is definitely my honorable mention. It was, if I went 6, she was clearly my 6th player. But I don't cheat. I have Aria from Liberty. The freshman Chelsea from Liberty. I would try pronouncing her last name, Lavazello. And Kara McCoy from Barnegat. She had a pretty good season for Barnegat. Yeah. Those are my honorable mentions.
I have McCoy, Lavazzo, Isabel Guerrero from Barnegat. Yep. I'm pronouncing her name correctly, and Devin Quigley, my honorable mention team.
I know Isabel well from seeing Barnegat a bunch of times during soccer season. She's a pretty good soccer player. I actually didn't know she played basketball until the season started. So. And everyone knows I love my soccer players on the basketball court.
Me too. I'm very, very partial to soccer players. And I believe Isabel scored on Morgan this year, so I still put her on.
I think so. I think I got that clip. I think I saw it. Pod 4. To me, it was tough to do Pod 4 because 2 of the top teams, Middletown South and Marlboro, they really didn't play, and I felt, Marlboro, one of those teams you feel bad for because they didn't have any positive cases there. It's just, fortunate circumstances of playing a team that, had tested positive and, their postseasons were wiped out, which probably helped the seating committee, them not being in there. But
I believe it was 9 people for 8 spots. Marlboro beating Saddle River Day was a huge win.
Yeah.
But then, unfortunately, at the end of the season, they got the contact tracing and were knocked out.
Yeah.
So it was a very tough pod because I don't think a lot of the teams in that pod got all 15 games. So
no. Middletown 8, Marlboro 9, Freehold Borough 9. The other teams hit double digits, but
right.
My player of the year, you know, it was tough. I was bouncing back and forth, but I went with Hannah Orliff from Freehold. One of the reasons I stuck with her was because the first Trinity game she was out, and you know they didn't look good for Freehold, and it just meant what she meant, you know, to that team. And then you know my all pod team, Nina from Trinity Hall, freshman, outstanding player. Got to watch her live, and you know you could see what she means to that team. Sammy J, the limited game she had a great season. Bella Orlando, who really stepped up this season from Middletown South after you know that big graduate, you know those top graduates, you know graduating last year. Danny from Marlboro and Tanya Ellsbury from Freehold.
Okay, we differ a little bit. I had Nina as my player of the year from Trinity Hall. Great season as a freshman. I had Hannah Orloff, Tanya Ellsbury, Sammy J, Danny Schlesinger, and Haven Dora as my all-pod team.
Yeah, I had Dora, honorable mention, Beth Rankin from Middletown South, Jess Repeat, and Dara Grinberg from Manalapan, who she had pretty good stats and, you know, only a sophomore. So a couple more years to see if, you know, Manalapan could build some players around her and they could become more competitive.
Yep. I had Grinberg also, Jess Repeat, Isabella Orlando I had as my honorable mention, and Kaylee Ellsbury from Freehold Township.
So yeah, pretty similar. Yeah, it was tough. You know, Nina, she was being considered, you know, for my player of the year of the pod. She's going to be fun to watch the next 3 seasons in the short.
The team's going to be fun to watch.
Good team. Yeah, they got a very young team. Player I want to mention from Trinity Hall, you know, Emma Bradley. You know, she decided she's not going to play in college, but the game I was at, they were struggling, and then she came in, and you know, doesn't score all the points, but does everything right. And, you know, when she came in, it became a competitive game, you know, knocking down some big shots, getting the big rebounds, blocking shots. So, you know, it was disappointing when I heard, you know, she wasn't going to play the next level, but, you know, nice little player there that, you know, hopefully somebody next year could be that glue that could come off the bench when, you know, they need a spark like she did this past season.
Every team needs one of them.
Pod 5. I cheated a little bit with Pod 5. It's St. John Vianney.
You just said you don't cheat.
I know. I cheated with this one. None of the St. John Vianney girls are on my all-pod team because that whole team could probably be, you know, let's be, they are the all-pod team. I did put Madison St. Rose as, you know, player of the year at a pod, but I did not put any of the players in there because every single one of them deserve to be, you know, that one of the perfect teams. You know, you watched the Shore a long time. Was that probably one of the most complete teams you've seen in a long time in the Shore Conference?
There's been some St. John Vianney teams that were really good.
Yeah.
There have been some RBC teams that were really good. Manasquan teams in recent years that were really good. This was the deepest team. Mm-hmm. St. John Vianney. I believe you could go 1 through 10, 11, 12 on that team and not lose a beat. Mm-hmm. They're probably practicing against the second best team in the Shore every practice. So yeah, I mean, yes, yeah, I believe this is one of the best teams, and unfortunately they didn't get to show it through a full 34 game season. Mm-hmm. They did beat Trenton Catholic, mm-hmm. which I'm glad they got to set that game up.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen them play Rutgers Prep.
Yeah.
That would have been a good game also. Yeah. I don't think Rutgers Prep would have won, but I saw Rutgers Prep the weekend after the season ended at the Tournament of Champions that the Hoop Group put on. Manchester got to play them. What a solid team. Team.
I think Rutgers Prep beat them at No Boys Allowed actually in the fall too.
Yeah, good, very good team. Very solid, another deep team. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this probably was one of the, if not the best team. I just wish they would have got to show it over 34 games instead of 15.
Yeah. But, you know, Dawn did do a good job replacing the games that she lost out on with, you know, Saddle River Day. Like you said, they got TCA, they got Paul VI, which I know they're not, you know, top 5, but Paul VI, you know, they got that really good guard down there. And, you know, she did if a team backed out, or a team, had to cancel because of COVID, she made sure she got one of the top teams in New Jersey, whether it came from the Shore Conference or outside the Shore.
And that's one
you
of the
expect
benefits.
nothing less from Dawn.
One of the benefits of having those 3 letters, SJV. You can play. People want to play you. They want to try to knock you off. It usually never happens, but teams, they're going to get the team's best shot, and they took the team's. Paul the Six had a very good game against them. Trenton Catholic played them well, but they're just a much better team.
Yep. Yeah.
So I agree with Madison's my player of the year also.
You want to go through your
all I did not cheat. I put St. John Vianney kids on. And I feel bad leaving 1 or 2 of them off, but it's just the way it goes. Katie Hill from St. John Vianney, Ryan Taylor from Holmdel, Jess Stessing from Colts Neck. She had a very good season.
Yeah.
Skylar Paris from Matawan, another solid season. And Olivia Palmer from Holmdel, also my all-pod team.
We're very similar. I had Jess from Colts Neck, Palmer and Taylor from Holmdel. I had Vic Palladino from Middletown North, and the center, Ayala from Matawan, was on my. I had Skylar as honorable mention. It was tough. Those two, complemented each other, during the season.
Yeah.
My honorable mention, Patty Walsh from Middletown North, Sarah O'Leary from Raritan, and Ronnie Burkott. Brucata from Middletown North. She had a very good season, shooting the ball from Middletown North. So those were my honorable mentions. Like I said, I didn't list any St. John Vianney players because they all should have been listed.
You took the easy way out.
Yeah, I cheated.
My honorable mention, I had Megan Cahalan, St. John Vianney, Emma Bruin from St. John Vianney, Ronnie Burkott from Middletown North, and Megan Casey from Raritan.
Now, Bruin's one of those players that I was up in arms when the all-shore team came out, not getting it second or third, because she shut down every top guard that came into that gym. And it just shows you that media, they look at the points, and that's really it.
And like we said, St. John Vianney starters practicing against their second team is like the number 1 and 2 team in the Shore.
Yeah.
But those girls know. The only way you're going to get playing time is to prove it in practice.
Yep.
And, Emma can shut down anybody she wants, and she proved it.
Yep.
So, too bad the state doesn't do an all defensive team.
Yeah, she'd be number 1.
I as a coach, I stress defense. I love defense. It's just unfortunate that it's not really a look well upon stat or anything, and I wish they did an all. She'd be the defensive player of the year, no doubt.
Yep. No. I think Tiny's all defense team's coming out this week. I'm sure. He pretty much tweeted that we don't know who it's going to be. So
yeah.
Moving to pod 6, tough pod. It's the RBC Rumson RBR. RBC, one of those teams, unfortunately, middle of the season gets stuck with the COVID bug. Justine, one of the best players in the state, missed a bunch of games, a couple additional games from when the team was even, back on the court. It just, kind of ruined the flow. They were getting ready to play some good teams, and then they had to shut down in the middle of the season. They played St. John Vianney in the finals, and St. John Vianney just lit them up like they did everybody else.
Yeah.
But they got most of their players coming back to next season. So next year's the year with Allie and Justine.
Yeah, definitely. I again, unfortunate that they got hit with the COVID restrictions, but a good year. Made it to the championship pod final. But my player of the year is from RBC, and it's Miss Consistency, Allie Carmen. Great year. They averaged 14 points a game. Now, all coaches did not keep stats of rebounds, assists, block shots, but I'm sure she would have been right up there in block shots and rebounds in the short conference. but yeah, just a consistent season. Justine got knocked out for a bunch of games, and Allie really stepped up. So that's my player of the year.
Mine is Madison LaRosa from Shore Regional. To me, you just take her off Shore Regional and they don't win a game. She was very consistent with the point score. Even when they played the tough teams, she dropped 28 on Donovan, and that was with Dreyhus was out with an injury. So if you know Shore Regional, that's when one of your two basketball players is out. Teams could focus, put all their focus, and she still was able to drop 28. And I know players that go up against her are very complimentary about her. I don't know what she finished points per game, but it had to be up there, I'm sure.
16.7.
Yeah. So I know she finished with over like 200, right? Was it just that 200?
I think it was just over.
Yeah,
just over. Yeah.
So she's my, player of the year just because, the impact and, she was able to put up the stats all season too against the, some of the better teams. My all pod team, Grace Rumson, senior, Chloe Tier, RBR, Allie Carmen, who was, if it wasn't Madison, Allie was going to be my, player of the year in the pod. Corstino from Rumson Fairhaven, who just shoot the lights out, and Justine Passat, because even in the limited games she played, she put up some big numbers. And, it's really a shame that, she didn't have a full season too to see what she could, really do.
Yeah, we have mostly the same team. Grace, Julia Corsentino, Chloe Teeter. I have Madison LaRosa, who we swapped with Allie Carmen as player of the year. And I have Caitlin Decker as my 5th player. Again, we all know Justine's a great player. And I don't think she's hurt that I didn't put her on the first team. I wore my hat just to show that, fellow Vol. But yeah, unfortunately, it's hard to put somebody on there who played 7 games, although, we know what she did in those 7 games.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to deter her one way or another. She's going to keep working 4 or 5 hours a day and just have a chip on her shoulder and be ready for next year.
Yeah. My honorable mention, Jada Rogers from Long Branch, the freshman Maya Truce from Monmouth Regional. Did I pronounce that? She had a very good freshman year. Madola and Decker were my other 2 honorable mentions.
So I have Cortland McBaron from RFH, who I wanted to put on the first team. I couldn't put 3 girls on her because early in the season she was dominant. Yeah. I have Justine, Mia from Monmouth, and I have Jada Rogers from Long Branch.
Yeah, Cortland, one of those multi-sport athletes too that could do it. And another player, Rumson had, did everything for them. Chase Boyle, another, rebound, block shots. She had a very good game against Madison in the first round of the bracket. Doing everything for that team. So yeah, that was a tough bracket because there's a lot of talent just on those 3 teams alone. And then you throw in Shore, the Monmouth regional girl who has got a lot of potential to be something special. Pod 7, St. Rose. We both picked Abby at the beginning of the season. Abby was my choice for player of the year.
Made us look smart.
Yeah. My all pod team, Mary Donnelly, who had a wonderful season. She gave Abby a run for her money for being pod player of the year.
Actually, I think I picked Mary as my pod player of the year. So it made you look smart. Yeah.
Brooke Holloway, Rosie from St. Rose. I don't want to butcher her last name. Georgia Heine from Manasquan, and Young from Neptune rounds out my pod team.
My all-pod team is Mary Donnelly, Rosie. I have Anjanae Young, if I'm pronouncing her name correct, from Neptune. I put Shane Eldridge, freshman from Wall, on the all-pod team, and Georgia from Manasquan.
Yeah, I have Shane's an honorable mention. Evans from Wall. I put Stapleton just because you could tell when she got hurt what she actually meant to the St. Rose team because they didn't look like the same powerful team when she got hurt. And freshman Raquel Guida from Rainey, Guidetti. She rounds out my honorable mention. It was another tough pod. quite a bit of talent in that pod.
Yes. I have Raquel also. I have Sophia Chibukian from Ocean.
Okay. She had a good season.
Emily Tverdick from Wall, another freshman, another great season. Brooke Hollowell and Layla Laws. Layla, when Stapleton went down, Layla really stepped up. She's one of those players has talent, but is always hiding in the wings a little bit. And Abby, of course, overshadows everybody on that team. But when they played us in the first round of the championship pod, she probably played the best defensive game I've ever seen on Destiny in 4 years.
Yeah.
And that's I'm not lying. She not only that, she took it to us on offense also.
Yeah, she did.
She had 10 or 11 points that game, I believe.
I think she had 7 alone in the third quarter.
Yep. And that's when they blew the game open.
Yeah.
So Layla, if there was a most improved player in the Shore, I think she'd probably be the pick.
Yeah. I was getting texts from other coaches, what's going on, and we all assumed Maggie Kavanaugh was going to be the one on Destiny, and Layla and coaches were like, wow. And they were like, how is she doing? I was like, shutting Destiny down, because Destiny had 0 points in the first.
Shut Destiny down. Yeah.
I mean, Destiny came out of the first quarter with 0 points. When can you say that happened?
Never.
And then she started to get in her groove in the second half with scoring, and that backdoor cut. She was, we were sitting next to each other. That backdoor cut was killing.
I still have visions of that. Great cut, great pass, and
that was a perfect team game by St. Rose too, because Naisha Irvin had a great game, and she was one of the ones making all those passes. When the girls were cutting, rebounding, and I think they all, when you wouldn't expect St. Rose to win like that when, Abby had, I think, just at 20 or maybe 19 points.
Right.
And their other top scorer, Rosie, only had 12,
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think all 5 of their starters had double figures.
Yes, they did. No, they did. I think Irvin had 15. I think Laws had 13. And, Maggie Kavanaugh had a good game.
She was hot early, hit a couple big threes early.
So that was one of the best team basketball games I think I've seen in a long time, where everybody played like a team, and it was it was fun to watch, especially being a St. Rose alum.
I know, yeah. I'm a Donovan guy, so but I know we're not going to do Coach of the Year, and I know Dawn, is perpetually the Short Conference Coach of the Year. She's just a great coach, but the job that
Mary Beth
did at St. Rose with, everybody said coming into the season, it's just going to be Abby. They're going to have a down year. They lost 2 great players. And the job she did with that team, culminating, beating Manchester in the first round with, like you said, the perfect team game. She had a great game plan. Her coaching staff put together a great game plan. They knew how they were going to attack Manchester. They said, hey, we're going to put Layla on Destiny and see what happens. And it worked out great for them. So if I had a Shore Coach of the Year, 1 and 1A, Mary Beth would be.
Yeah, I agree. Because, you lose Bryn, you lose Michaela, couple good role players off the bench too graduated, and they didn't lose a step,
No.
And from the start of the season, I mean, lose at the buzzer to Manasquan, and then they whipped Manasquan pretty good the next day at Manasquan's gym, and they went rolling from there.
So. Not only, I don't think they lost a step, I think they actually looked better, more as a more team basketball throughout the whole season. Than in the past. So
they were fun to watch.
I didn't find it so fun.
No.
One time I got to see them, but yeah.
The last pod, Mater Dei, Point Pleasant Beach, the Henry Hudson. Mater Dei ended up playing Wall for the pod winner.
Right.
But there was I think Point Beach was in that pod as well. Point Borough. I think they were the only other teams from this pod. Well, Point Borough's not in it. But I picked I think we both picked Cassidy Burns at the beginning of the year. She was my player of the year. It was between her and Allie House. I went with Burns for Player of the Year.
I went with House. So yeah.
My all pod is Taisha Cooper from Asbury. Her stats are through the roof.
16.2 points a game. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know what grade. I'm still trying to figure out what grade she's in. I don't, because it's not listed.
They don't list anything. It's so odd. Yeah.
I got to ask Dave because Dave knows her. I think he knows the family. Allie Haas, Ann McGavin from Henry Hudson, Jamina Range. I hope I'm pronouncing that. Seen her. I got to see her play against Wall. Very nice player. Could do everything. And Isabel Ben Nars from Keyport, and I think she's only a sophomore, so she's going to be around for a couple more years. That's my all pod team.
Like I said, I have Allison House as the Player of the Year, Taisha Cooper, Isabella Bednars, Cassidy Burns, Jamina Range, and Ann McGavin were my all pod team.
My honorable mentions: Jada Clayton from Point Beach, Leanna Brown from Modern Day, Madison Fernandez, Keensburg, and for some reason I don't have a fourth one listed.
You know what? Neither do I. I had 3 also, and there's 3. So
sorry, guys.
No, and you know what? Listen, everybody kind of B Central, blah blah blah. Not a great team, not a great league, not a great division. We kick their butt all the time, but you know what? They're very competitive within their little group there. 3 teams finished over 500. Yeah. So Henry Hudson, I think 2 years in a row now over 500. So something to build on there. And I didn't really get to see a lot of the games. The one good part of not being able to go to the games is I got to watch 3 or 4 games a night instead of going to 1. So I did get to see some of the games, but I wish I got to see more. But a very competitive pod.
Yeah, and I got to see Mater Day against Wall in that finals, and they were a fun team, but they were shooting a lot of threes, and none of them were going in. They kept Wall in the game, and then I think Colleen's a great coach, and Wall stepped up in the second half, and you had Emily as an honorable mention for the St. Rose pod, the Wall pod, and I think she won player of the pod for the playoffs as a freshman, and she was good.
That team is going to be a team to watch next year. Getting 2 good freshmen next year. And like you said, if kids realize that they have a great coach there, a homegrown coach, somebody that's invested in Wall, maybe they'll stay home and build Wall into a contender.
Just starts. You need 1 good class, and then hopefully the class under you comes, and then you can build something. But she's Colleen's a very, very good coach, and even in games they lost, you could just tell that they were prepared. They just didn't have the basketball players to match up. But that's going to start to change hopefully.
That'll come with experience.
Yep. We'll do all freshman team first. My freshman year was Nina from Trinity Hall. She just meant so much to that team. But there were so many good freshmen. Cameron Gardner from RBR. I think she started from the second game on, if I'm correct. She might have started the first game too, but I know she definitely started from the second game on the rest of the season. Megan Sias from Toms River North, who I think she had their best stats, overall stats. Shane Eldridge from Wall. Great point guard, great handles, could shoot, take it to the hoop. It all starts with her. Devin Quigley from Manchester, great. She had a great season. Offensively put up a lot of points. Was a good 2 option to Destiny, scoring wise, and she can knock down the 3 when everyone's caving in on Destiny down under. And Raquel, I'm gonna butcher her name again, Gudito from Rainey. I got to see Rainey quite a bit. They were one of the schools lucky enough that did that network for free for fans, and I got to watch them quite a bit. And the progress she made from the first game of the year all the way on, she's a nice little player that Rainey has, and they're going to be able to build off that.
Yep. I think we're pretty close. Freshman of the year is Nina, also from Trinity Hall. I have Cameron Gardner, Megan Sias, Shane Eldridge, Emily Tverdick, and Devin Quigley. Okay. Our all freshman team.
So 1 change, but there's a lot. I mean, there's freshmen we didn't even bring up that, Hope Masonis is probably going to end up being the best one out of that class. And we didn't even mention her,
But that's a stacked team.
I know that's the issue. Yeah. But, when she got in, what impressed me most about watching Hope is her passing. She passes like a senior veteran, like some of the looks that she gets and stuff like that. So I know she didn't get mentioned for All Fred, but she's probably gonna end up being might end up being the best one out of this 2024 class. But there's a lot of good talent in this 2024 class. All right, all short team. Madison St. Rose, player of the year. It was between her and Katie Hill, in my opinion. Both had great years. I went with Madison, and I know she just won back-to-back NJ.com player of the year for the short conference. Can she make it 3 in a row next year? Probably. Destiny was probably the best chance to take the reign this year, but it went with Madison just led the team in so many big games.
I agree with you. I went with Madison also. To me, it was between Madison and Destiny, but I went best player on best team. That's kind of how it goes. And I know Destiny very well. I'm very partial to her, but how you can't not put Madison as the player of the year.
Yep.
So
steps up, and it's funny. I was looking at the stats, and she had a lot of steals, and she don't get, they don't talk about her defense.
Hold on. I got
she had 30 plus.
Let's see, I'll give you the stats. 3 steals a game.
Yeah. That's no joke right there. Yeah.
No.
Princeton is getting a great one.
Absolutely. And, we talk about kids making choices for college, and a lot of short talent going to great universities, academic institutions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Madison could have played, I think, anywhere she wanted.
Yep.
But, as someone that thinks a lot smarter than what I did when I was in high school, take the education at Princeton, and that you cannot fault a kid for wanting to do that. Think of the possibilities when she gets out of there, that, alumni network and the education she's going to get. So she could have gone anywhere she wanted. And I think that Princeton's a great choice. She is going to be a fantastic player there.
I'm sure, we've talked about this. I think, when you play a sport, whether it's basketball, soccer, your number one job in high school is, the best school that wants you. Don't be waiting on, hoping for a better offer, or, you want to go to a bigger sports school. Your job should be get as much of your education paid for as you can.
Absolutely.
And and look at it, sure, the Patriot League, they're up there in academics, the Patriot League, and they're all those schools recruit, heavily from the shore.
Yep.
So Madison, she's gonna have a great future, and be bossing one of us around.
I'm sure
in the future, whatever she died. I've never spoken to her. I don't know what her career ambitions are after college, but great choice for her, and she's a great player, and local. We could get in the car and go watch her play whenever we want.
Absolutely.
My all short team: Capua, Adams, Katie Hill, Abby, and because I picked Madison, my player of the year, Mary Donnelly is my 5th for all short.
I have the exact same 5 as all short.
So during the summer and fall leagues, I said it was going to be Capua, Adams, Katie Hill, Madison St. Rose,
Abby,
and Abby, and they did not disappoint me at all. And like you said, for everything going on, we had a really good season. It was a fun season.
I agree. It was great to get out there, and the last 2 weeks, parents actually got to get to the gym and watch the teams play and watch their kids play. And I know I appreciated it, having a senior, getting to watch her last 5 or 6 basketball games in her career, because this is it for basketball for her. So I was excited to be able to do that, at least for the last 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah, and I give credit to the athletic directors getting that up and running. I think it was proved late on Thursday night. I was at a game Friday night, and there was parents in the bleachers already. So
Yeah.
The ADs did a really, and I think by Saturday games, all the schools were. So, they did a good job, trying to get the parents, into the stands.
Yep. And all the proper precautions were taken, and
Oh, yeah.
and the kids, I think, the coaches may have liked an empty gym better,
Yeah.
but the kids did appreciate having some fans and
Probably the
cheerleaders
refs
there.
too.
Oh, please. I said enough about the refs preseason. I don't need to say anything postseason. But listen, everybody did a great job. It was a tough season, tough circumstances, but everybody pulled through. And, you could see more so this year the camaraderie. Teams wanting to play each other, wanting to be in the gym. There were no, at least from what I noticed, there wasn't much chippiness during the games. It was teams just very happy to be there, very happy to get to play and compete and play for something. Not a state championship, not a typical short conference championship, but play for something. Yeah. And I think that was important.
Yeah, I mean, the short, there was other conferences that didn't have any postseason. The short, when they realized there was no state, the short conference did a good job putting together, what they can, and it, ended up, maybe long-term solution. A lot of teams liked that option that they had with the different groups that we spoke on before. So hopefully next year full gyms, because I was rewatching some games from last year. There's nothing like a close game in a packed house.
No, the atmosphere. I mean, it's and there were, for the small crowds, there were some games where it sounded like a packed gym, which is great. But I'm looking forward to going to games next year. I other than going to watch Morgan play soccer in college, I'll be doing this with you during the soccer season and during the basketball season. So I'll have a lot of time to get out and see more teams, more players, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm counting down till soccer ball drops in the fall. I was talking to one of the soccer coaches. I said, I can't wait for the fall. He agreed. Get over this pandemic and let's get a full season going.
Get a full season. Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, Doug, I appreciate, you taking your time out and us doing this. I look forward to, next season, soccer season, and then, we'll do this again for basketball for all the basketball fans. But, the feedback when we did in the preseason was all, at least on my end was positive. And hopefully people don't get upset with our picks. but I think we did a good job.
You got to be impartial, and I think, like I said, everybody deserves credit for the season they had this year. But I appreciate you having me on again. I didn't drop your ratings too much preseason, so it's good to be back on postseason. I'm looking forward to doing this during soccer season and
definitely.
And another basketball season next year.
Yeah. So people know next year we're planning on doing like a weekly recap show. Not just preseason and postseason. We'll do player of the week and all that good stuff for soccer and basketball. So, and
hopefully have some guest appearances, coaches and players next year.
Yeah, definitely.
Player of the week and coach or whatever. We'll figure that all out, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you, Doug. And the Shore as good as anybody when it comes to probably all the sports. Better than me. I just know soccer. Well, now these days, soccer and basketball, but. I can't think of somebody better to partner with, so I appreciate it.
And you do a great job, and I know everybody appreciates the work you put in and the time you put in.
Yeah, I want to thank the parents that always come up to me at games and thank me, and it means
the ones
a lot.
That snuck you in the side door during the games this year.
Yeah, but I appreciate it. So, all right, guys, we'll see you next basketball season unless you join us for soccer season.
All right, take care.